Hello. My name is Wangani Wellington Mataya, and it has been a minute. If you're wondering why I've been gone for a while, if you already don't know, I had some health complications with my life. Now, don't get me wrong, it was appendicitis. I had to get surgery to get my appendix removed. However, in the moment, or when it all pretty much just started to go down, it didn't feel like a very standard normal thing. But then again, I had some very good doctors and some very good just people around me who kind of like assured me that everything was going to be fine. I'll take you back 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I went to bed. It was a normal day. It was going to be a Monday. Everybody dreads waking up for the Monday shift. So if I'm being perfectly honest, when I probably called in sick and said to my boss, "Hey, I'm not going to be here in the morning," she was probably like, "Oh, it's a Monday. He's probably just had a rough weekend." You know what I mean? Which is always what I feel like I come off as every time I call in sick. So I didn't want it to kind of be that way, but it just kind of played out that way. But I went to bed very normal, and I woke up at around 2 a.m. 2 a.m. with a really sharp pain. Basically, I don't want to say right hand side. Well, it's kind of like behind in this area that I'm pointing at that you obviously can't see because the camera doesn't look that far, but kind of behind on my back on the right hand side in the lower region, right? I went to the bathroom. I was under the impression that, hey, maybe I just really need to go to the bathroom and I just need to empty the tank. You get what I mean? But nothing changed. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to lie down. Maybe it'll just get better after a bit. If it gets better, I'll sleep it off. Lied down, and it felt so much worse. Like, so much. I don't know why lying down. I wasn't even lying down on the area. I was lying down on the other side. But just lying down in any position kind of like increased the pain for me. So I'm there for about 15 minutes. 15 minutes, I'm like, nah, something's not right. I called somebody who I knew would be awake at that time, and I was like, I don't know if you know anything about these symptoms, but like, can you let a brother know? Because I've never experienced anything like this before. So me being me, when you go to the hospital in Australia, or when you go to emergency, I should say, you have to pay $600 to get in. Now, like, it's a lot of money. And I know it's my life on the line, but I'm always very hesitant to go to the hospital for that reason. I'm not saying that it isn't fair, but I think it's a system where if you have Medicare, you can just go in. But if you don't have Medicare, you have to pay, and then your insurance pays you back, which they will, right? So that's not a problem. But it's just one of those things that like kind of deters you from going to the hospital often, because you'll be faced with those charges immediately. Like they can't see you, they can't admit you until you pay that $600. So like I went to the hospital maybe a month ago, or maybe a month and a half ago. We got there was a really long line, and that $600 was weighing on my head, and I started to feel better when I was there, so we just left. Now it wasn't the same thing when I went to the hospital a month ago, but it was like I was sick. Like, I was also just really sick that day as well. So I was kind of like thinking of the fact that, the first time I kind of played it off as, oh, you'll get better, which I don't know if that's an African thing, but like, you just firm it up, you'll be fine, right? But this time around, it really did feel like something I'd never felt before. So I went there, I paid the $600, and I think at first they sat me down, they got my details, and then they asked me to wait in like a waiting room in a specific section of the ward. But as I said, sitting, lying down, it doesn't feel right. So I'm not comfortable in the hospital. So I just kind of I stood up and just started walking back and forth, because it made me feel slightly better. But I don't think it makes other people feel better. It kind of makes other people feel anxious, because everybody's like, oh, what's wrong with this guy? You know what I mean? Right. But I'm in this hospital, I'm walking back and forth, and I don't think I see anybody for about maybe 45 minutes, like a nurse. But a nurse eventually sees me walking up and down, and she goes, "Are you okay?" I'm like, the pain's just getting worse. And it really was. In my opinion, it felt like it didn't feel like I was going to die, but I don't know what getting stabbed feels like. But if I were to describe getting stabbed, I would describe it as that's the pain that I'm talking about here. So I'm walking back and forth. This nurse walks up to me. She goes, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "The pain's just getting worse." She goes, "Have you had any painkillers?" I'm like, "I didn't take anything myself." She goes, "Not even a Panadol?" I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Oh," she goes, "Okay, we'll talk to somebody. We'll get you some painkillers and maybe a room." I'm like, "Okay, cool, bet." But the room wasn't necessarily like, like a room. It was just like a bed in the ward. And I wasn't trying to be dramatic. I wasn't trying to get the bed. It just walking around made me feel better. So I didn't feel like being assigned a bed would actually make me feel better. But it was a scenario like I'd take that kind of like seclusion. It's a hospital at the end of the day. There's a lot of things that you see that you don't necessarily want to see or hear. So eventually, I think maybe 10 minutes after that, she found me a bed and a room. And they got me on some stronger, it wasn't Panadol, there was some stronger medication to start with. But maybe an hour passed and I felt nothing, like no difference, right? Like the pain was getting worse, if I'm being perfectly honest, right? I was squirming in the bed, like I was up and down. I was beside myself. I like legit, it just kept getting worse. Now, from the way that I had described the pain and from the way that it was feeling to me, the nurse said, "It's probably a kidney stone. Kidney stones will pass. We'll give you some painkillers. It takes a couple days. The pain will come and go." I'm like, okay, right? I wasn't going into that room or into the hospital thinking that I was going to have surgery. I went in there just thinking that this could be the worst stomach ache I've ever had, if I'm being perfectly honest. But then another hour passes, and now the pain's still getting worse. They've given me a second, if not a third set of painkillers at that point in time. But then a doctor walks in, and the doctor's like, "No, whatever is bothering him is clearly bothering him. We're going to get him on a drip, and the drip's going to have an even stronger medication." I don't know what, but I know it was really strong because maybe like an hour after that, I couldn't feel my whole body. But the doctor had the same opinion. Doctor walked in, goes, "Everything that you're describing says kidney stone. We're going to do a scan just to check to see if it's appendicitis." Now, the person that I had called earlier before I went to the hospital had said, if it's a normal stomach ache or if it's a cramp or something like that, it'll pass. But if it's appendicitis, you do need to go to the hospital because it needs urgent treatment. So I'm like, okay, it just feels too different for it to be anything that I've experienced before. So I had to go to the hospital. So they put me on this drip. After this drip, I kind of fell asleep for about 30 minutes, and then they took me to an ultrasound. And in the ultrasound room, the guy's super chill guy, I think he does this a lot, so like he's just kind of used to it. But the ultrasound, for them to do the ultrasound now, I think I had done, not an ultrasound, but like a mammogram, but it's kind of like similar in the sense where they take this, it's like a speed stick, if I'm being perfectly honest, right? They put some specific gel on it, but they have to push down on the area so that they can see on the inside what's going on. So when they push down, it's like it's hard, you get what I mean, right? It's hard, like it hurts. And I hadn't felt any pain for at least the last hour. I felt good like at that point in time, right? So he's pushing down. I'm like, oh, it's struggling, but it's for me to get better. So I'm not complaining. But the dude is like, he's like, "I don't know, it looks a little bit swollen to me, but we're gonna have to like send this to a surgeon so that he can give a professional opinion as to whether we need to do anything about it." At this point, I didn't even know. I didn't even know surgery was on the table. I just thought, there'll be some type of medication. It's 2024. There's a medication for everything. You get what I mean? That was the impression that I was under. So they dragged me back to my ward where I can't feel anything at all. At this point, I'm actually feeling really good. At that point, if I'm being honest, I may have even checked out of the hospital. But the nurse was adamant that that medication is very strong and will kick in and you won't feel anything for like a while. So I was like, okay, maybe they're just really helping me out. So now I'm like, I'm kind of waiting for a doctor or for the surgeon to kind of give me a thing. But they said that the surgeon won't come until like early in the morning, so you might as well sleep. Now, I went to the hospital alone. I went via Uber, a very concerned Uber driver who was like, who looked down at the location we were going to and goes, Monash Health, emergency? Are you all good? And I'm like, I'm not good. Your swiftness would be appreciated, good sir. And he goes, I'll be there in 5 minutes, because I'm really close by to Monash Health, right? So I didn't really tell many people about it, maybe just the one person that called. But at that point, I'm like, I'm about to go to bed. Let me just text some people. I called my parents, basically said I'm in the hospital. This is the reason I'm in the hospital. They think it's this and this. We haven't done any tests yet. And then I texted my housemates, or my old housemates, basically just said, I'm here. I got here by myself. Don't worry about it. I'm in this ward, this room. Cool. I woke up with my friend, really close friend, just, kind of sitting there. He said he had been there for about 50 minutes by the time that I woke up. We were maybe talking for about 10 minutes. He was about to leave. He was just asking what I needed. As he was about to leave, the surgeon walks in. Surgeon walks in with a laptop, and he goes, hi, my name is Dr. Such and Such. Your appendix is swollen. We need to remove it. I'm going to get a paper for your consent form for the surgery. And I'm like, the thing is, look, everybody's a little bit different. Some people are a little bit more straightforward and everything like that. But in that moment, I had no idea what was wrong with me for the last 7 hours, around there, right? And I went from, it's a kidney stone, it'll pass in a couple of days, to, it could be nothing, honestly, to, you're having surgery, we need to get you prepped and moved, and we need to take out your appendix, right? Again, I'm not a learned individual on the human body. I didn't know anything about it. So he walks out, he walks out the room completely, and me and my friend turned to each other. We're like, what do you mean? He didn't give an explanation. Sorry, when I said your appendix is swollen, I was like, I got that from the last guy, but the last guy didn't say we're going to have surgery. He said we're going to get it to a surgeon for a professional opinion. Again, he's a professional opinion. Believe him, right? I'm nothing against anything that he did or what he said, right? But we were just a little bit confused, and we were very taken aback. He walks back in, and we're like, there's no avenues other than surgery? Is the surgery gonna cost a lot? What's the plan? What's the reason that you're having surgery? He goes, there's a valve in your appendix or something in your appendix that's blocked. It's causing the appendix to swell. It could swell even more. If it swells even more, it can burst. If it bursts, it causes more problems, and the problems being like sepsis, and apparently if you get sepsis, that's it. You die. That's it's there's very limited options for them to be able to help you out at that point. I'm like, okay, maybe lead with that and say, you need this right now. Let's do it. Get on the move. You get what I mean, right? So again, I'm really far away from home. I gotta explain this to everybody now. Just saying, hey, I'm about to have surgery in about couple hours. So I just called my parents again in that moment. Called some of my friends, basically just said, hey, I'm gonna have surgery at 4:30. I got this news about the surgery at 10 a.m. around 11 a.m. or something like that. I'm gonna have surgery at 4:30. They're transferring me to the hospital in Casey. It's gonna be what they call laparoscopical appendectomy, something like that. I don't know if that's the correct term. I'll put it on the screen if it is. It's the simple term is keyhole surgery. It's apparently a very straightforward procedure. It barely leaves any scars. If I'm being perfectly honest, I have 3 small wounds. It's not like a line. They don't cut you in half and do everything at that point. But everything kind of proceeded smoothly from there. But yeah, at that point, they were like, oh, you kind of need to make your way to Casey. So my friend took me to the Casey hospital for them to prep me for treatment. Of course, we got there, and it's busy. I'm not gonna lie. We walked in general, and it was super busy. And they said, oh no, you need to go to day surgery. And day surgery, there was 2 or 3 people, right? Now, of course, those 2 or 3 people were waiting for people who were in surgery. So clearly, there's other people in front of us. So my surgery actually was scheduled for 4:30, but got delayed. I think got delayed until 6:30. Now, that didn't matter to me. Again, I'm all the way drugged up. I still can't feel anything. I'm going to this hospital actually thinking that I've been cured, right? And this is maybe where I'm playing mind games with myself, because I'm telling myself I don't need this. I'm fine. dude, I could go to work tomorrow. Honestly, if on those drugs, I don't know what they put in there, but yeah, on those drugs, I could go to work tomorrow. But that's what I'm telling myself, and that's just the truth. That's just how I felt. But that's because now surgery is on the cards, and now I have to be put under. You get what I mean? So they prep you. They make you sign a lot of forms. They do a health fund check. They just make sure that your health insurance covers everything. Thank goodness for health insurance. The only thing we had to pay was that 600, and that 600 is gonna get paid back. Thank goodness to God as well, because if I'm being perfectly honest, right, I've known myself to ignore things to do with my body and just saying it will pass. I feel like something that day was like just telling me, no, bro, not this time. You get what I mean? I had other people telling me that as well, but I just felt like there was a lot more kind of like riding on what went wrong that day. So, all glory to He who is above. You know what I mean? So it's just, I don't know. All this stuff can catch anybody off guard. So yeah, I'm now in the operation room, waiting room, in the gowns. You know the gowns that they wear. I have a photo somewhere. Basically the one where so it's like you wear a jacket that faces backwards that you tie at the back. They leave the back open, but you wear another jacket that comes to the front so that your back is covered. But you only wear that second jacket on top that covers your back for a certain extent. Once they get you into a specific bed, that jacket is taken away from you. And if you need to go anywhere, you are walking around pretty much butt naked in the hospital. All right. So it's a new level of comfort that you have to be in a foreign area for you to experience that, if I'm perfectly honest, right? So I'm having a conversation with the nurse because somebody's waiting for me in the waiting room. And we were under the impression surgery would be at 4:30. I'd be done by 6:30. People would be able to see me because, visitation at that hospital, or at least that section of the hospital, ended at 8 o'clock. So I thought people would be able to see me, but they kept saying that my surgery is getting delayed. So somebody was waiting for me, and then I had to go home because my surgery wouldn't start until 6 o'clock. Therefore, visitation would be over by the time it was done. So I'm talking to the nurse because, of course, they've taken away my phone. They've taken away a lot of my stuff. I've sent a message to my parents, at least at that point, saying that I'm going into surgery because I was under the impression that I was going into surgery, but it got delayed. So my phone, I was not with my phone, and I couldn't have those conversations. So the problem is my parents thought I went in at 4:30, meaning by 6:30, when I was supposed to be done, which is when I was going in, my phone was being called. I didn't know that until after, when the surgery was done, of course. But of course, if you give somebody a timeline and then you are late for that timeline, they're gonna think something went wrong, right? Now that's what I thought. When I called them, they were perfectly fine. Everything was like super normal. But in my head, I'm like, oh, dude, I'm 2 hours late. Oh, they might think that things went wrong. I was actually like panicking, like trying to find my phone to call them first. You know what I mean? But in general, in regards to the whole surgery procedure, the dude on the anesthesia, super nice, super chill. The lady who explained everything to me, the surgical assistant who explained everything to me beforehand, super nice. She's also had the surgery before, so I think she's a lot more. I don't want to say believable, but you can you feel comforted when she explains it to you, basically. But she explained it basically saying that a keyhole surgery means they use very long instruments that go inside your body, because they kind of enter from really far away. Because the appendix apparently is on the right side, but the entry point is on the left, the middle, just under the belly button, and just over the bladder, right? So you don't really see how it's going to end up the way that it does, but it just does. Plain and simple, I'm in there, I'm cool, I'm super calm, really, on the outside. At least I was playing it that way. I was cracking jokes, I was talking to people, but on the inside, you're nervous. It's scary. It's not something that you experienced before. I'm also in a foreign country. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing for me to go and say, hey, hey, I'm gonna have surgery in about 10 minutes. This is gonna be great. I'll be fine though, because they're helping me out. But that's what they are. They're helping me out. So yeah. I met my surgeon beforehand. It's not the same surgeon from the other hospital because we got transferred so that they could do the surgery quicker. But he's a super happy guy. He kind of walks in, he's like, hey, I'm Dr. Such and Such. I'll be doing your surgery today. Don't worry, I do this about 4 times a day. You'll be fine. Alrighty, I'll see you in the other room. I think he was just going straight into prep, because I feel like he had just finished one and now he has to do another one because, as I said, it was being delayed, right? But yeah, they transfer you from now your ward to this cold room where you get fitted for the anesthesia, and then they transfer you from that kind of like small room into the operating room, and the operating room is freezing. It's so cold. I don't know why. I think it's beneficial for my health. I didn't ask questions, but it's freezing, right? You then have to transfer yourself from one bed to another bed. You lie down. At that point, they untie the back of your gown because they're gonna need access, and they give you an oxygen mask, and they just say, "Can you just take 10 breaths of this for me?" And I'm like, "Cool." Take 10 breaths. You kind of don't force it, but like because they tell you to take the 10 breaths, you're there like, Darth Vader. Sorry, you're there kind of like sucking it in, but you don't have to. Like if you take normal breaths, you'll be fine. But nobody has experience about this stuff. And then they explain to you there'll be a breathing tube that they have to put in. It just means that you'll have a sore throat afterwards. I'm like, okay, cool, everything fine, right? And the guy kind of goes, he looks around the room. He's like, oh, the guy's body weight is this, and this. We're gonna need this CT stat, something like that, doctor terminology. And then they go, it's like I'm telling you, it's like you're in a sports team huddle, and they're like, 42, 17, hut, and you're like, whoa, right? And they just break, and they all go to their sections of the room, and they're ready to go. So the anesthesiologist, he looks at me, he just goes, "Are you ready?" I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. And he goes, "Okay, we'll see you in 2 hours." And he just goes, 3, 2, 1. And I'm telling you, you're out like a light. Your eyes start to flicker. You start to like, if you've ever felt lightheaded, it doesn't feel like you're falling asleep. It feels like you're lightheaded and you pass out legitimately. And waking up, you legitimately feel like you wake up 15 minutes later. When I woke up in a very bright room, and I don't have my glasses. You get what I mean? Like they were next to me, but they were not on my face. So I'm looking around this room and I can't see. So I'm like, oh, something went wrong. And I'm like, oh no, this is normal. I can never see in the first place. The nurse hands me my glasses, but I put the glasses on and I fall back asleep immediately because they haven't fully worn off. Apparently I was taking so long to wake up, like I was just enjoying my sleep at that point. They had to they're like, bro, wake up. She goes, everything all good? She goes, do you feel any pain? I'm like, not right now. She's like, yeah, it's probably because the medication's still strong. She goes, we're gonna transfer you to like a ward for you to sleep in tonight. This is the ward where your friends can visit you in the morning, etc., etc. Transfer me to a ward. They give me this jelly. This jelly tastes like strepsils. It's like lemon, like purely like lemon strepsils. It's great for my throat, but then that's when you kind of realize that, oh, okay, there's something wrong with my throat. So I tried to call my parents and I could barely speak. Like I was like, yeah, surgery went well. I'm going to bed now. Hopefully you're all good. Go to bed. Cool. Call my friends, tell them everything's fine. But you remember what I said, how it got delayed. So of course, when I checked missed calls, there was missed calls for 8:45, 9 o'clock. The time when I was supposed to already be out of surgery, because I only got to that ward maybe 10:30 or 11, right? So it was late at night. But at that point I felt better, but I didn't know how much of a factor that was medication, right? Now, the wounds, of course, there's 3 wounds. You wake up. The first time that I see the wounds is when I needed to go to the bathroom. I saw that there's like a plastic wrap on top of a patch on my stomach, and there was a patch to my left and a patch down a little bit lower. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Okay, this is how it is. And that's kind of the pain that you feel for the next couple of days. It's just the wounds from the surgery. Not really. You can feel on the inside that something's missing, that something's different. And when you go to the bathroom, you can feel the pain in the area where, things pass, right? But beyond that, on the inside, there's not much that I can feel unless I bump into something or something hits me. But on the outside, I was feeling, pain. Like it's 3 cuts. It's 3, 2 sections which are stitches, and 1 section that it just heals over time, right? But yeah, all in all, the whole surgery experience was a crazy thing for me. Again, I'm happy to be here. I'm so grateful for the health system in the times in which it helps me. The health system can be a very complicated thing for a foreigner to try and maneuver in any country, in my opinion. But I think that turnaround time, everything happening within maybe 11 hours, to me is a crazy thing. I didn't, oh sorry, maybe like 15 hours. Sorry, I got to the hospital like 2 a.m. and surgery by like 6. So around 15, 16 hours, right? I don't know. It was great, but it's scary. And I think it's supposed to be scary for everybody. But I'm good. Hopefully I'll be posting more content soon. I don't know how much gaming and stuff I can do. Like I was home for the last 2 weeks. I did nothing but game, but like speaking and moving has not been very easy, but I think I'm recovering fine. I've done one checkup. I have one more checkup and then I'm back to work. The dreaded work. I'm joking. I think I'm actually happy to be back to work. You know, you get into a repetitive cycle of doing nothing. It starts to get boring. But I'm gonna be in a better place now, and I'm happy everything worked out in the end. But I just wanted kind of to tell the story. The moral of the story, on my end at least, is if you feel the pain, don't ignore it. I had a conversation with my uncle. My uncle went through the same thing. He ignored it for a while. It affected him a lot. I almost ignored it. I had a friend who had the same thing recently. I had two friends actually who had the same thing recently. One went to the doctor and they thought it was something else. The other one went to the doctor and said that they had to dramatize it for her to get the treatment that she needed. So I'm telling you, sometimes, you know, stand your ground, or at least go against everything that you know and just say, hey, you know, maybe I need that extra treatment today. I need that extra checkup today. Because I've only now understood after the fact that I've done a little bit of research into the appendix and into what can go wrong with the appendix, that it could have gone significantly wronger than it did. That English is terrible. But it went out. It happened. It turned out okay, and I'm okay, and that's all that matters. Thank you to everybody who supported me. I'm just putting this story out there so that for anybody else who has experienced something like this, or anybody who's going through something like this, you're gonna be okay. It's gonna be confusing. It's gonna be a little bit weird to deal with. You're gonna feel some ghost pain. That's something that I've had to deal with in the area in which it's there, and it's all gonna be okay. I promise. But yeah, that's been my story. That's been this YouTube video. Hopefully new content coming soon. We'll see what happens. I haven't been active on this channel. That's on me. But again, I've been going through some stuff. All right, so don't blame me on that one. Alrighty, thank you very much for watching. Appreciate everything. Have a good one. Deuces.